The Great Hall of the Galactic Council stretched out like a silver ocean under the artificial stars of the dome's ceiling. Princess Vera of Zephyros stood in the center of the chamber, her hands bound with energy chains that glowed blue against her crystalline skin. She lifted her chin high as thousands of eyes from dozens of different species stared down at her from the circular seats that rose up like steps around the chamber. Princess Vera Nal Zephyr, the council chairman, spoke through his translation device. His voice echoed in the huge space. You stand accused of leading an armed rebellion against the lawful mining operations on your homeworld. You destroyed property worth millions of credits. You attacked corporate security forces. How do you answer these charges? Vera looked up at the chairman. He was a Voltarian, with gray skin and 4 arms. Like most of his species, he cared more about trade agreements than the lives of smaller worlds. I answer that my people were dying, she said clearly. The mining was poisoning our water. Our crops were failing. Children were getting sick. I did what any leader should do. I fought to protect my people. A low murmur went through the chamber. Some voices sounded angry. Others sounded sad. The chairman raised one hand for silence. The law does not recognize emotional justification for violent rebellion, he said. The mining rights on Zephyros were purchased legally through proper channels. The Hegemony Corporation followed all standard procedures. Vera felt anger burn in her chest like fire. Standard procedures that ignore the voices of the people who actually live on the world being destroyed. Standard procedures that put profit above life. Enough, the chairman said firmly. You have been found guilty of all charges. The standard punishment is exile to the penal colony of Titan 7, where you will serve 20 years of hard labor in the mining tunnels. A cold feeling spread through Vera's body. Everyone in the galaxy knew about Titan 7. It was a frozen moon where prisoners worked in dangerous mines. Most people died within the first year. The few who survived came back broken in mind and spirit. However, the chairman continued, there is an alternative under the ancient laws of our alliance. Any citizen in good standing may claim you as their partner under the bond of responsibility. If someone does this, they take on all your debts, all your enemies, and all responsibility for your future actions. If you commit another crime, your partner shares your punishment. If your enemies seek revenge, your partner becomes their target as well. The chairman looked around the chamber. This option exists because our ancestors believed that sometimes a person's future could be changed by finding the right guide. But I warn anyone thinking of this choice, taking on an exiled royal means inheriting every political enemy they have made. It is often considered a death sentence. Vera felt her heart sink. Nobody would be foolish enough to take on such a burden. She was not just any criminal. She was a failed rebel princess. Half the galaxy's corporations wanted her dead because she had fought against their mining operations. The other half wanted her dead because they feared other worlds might follow her example. She thought about her homeworld Zephyros. The beautiful crystal cities that grew from the living rock. The singing trees that made music in the wind. The clear rivers that used to run pure and clean before the mining started. All of it was still dying while she stood here in chains. We will now open the communication channels, the chairman announced. Any citizen who wishes to claim Princess Vera under the bond of responsibility has 3 standard hours to come forward. 3 hours. Vera closed her eyes and tried to prepare herself for Titan 7. At least on the frozen moon, she would die knowing she had tried to save her people. It was better than living with the shame of doing nothing. The first hour passed in silence. The chamber remained quiet except for the soft hum of the air recyclers and the occasional whisper between council members. Vera stood perfectly still, her crystalline skin catching the light from the dome above. She thought about her father, who had died trying to negotiate peacefully with the mining corporations. She thought about her younger brother, who was still on Zephyros, watching their world slowly die. The second hour crawled by even slower. Some council members left to attend to other business. Others stayed and watched Vera with expressions of curiosity or pity. She wondered what they were thinking. Did they see her as a terrorist who got what she deserved? Or did they see her as someone who had simply tried to protect her home? During the third hour, Vera began to let herself think about Titan 7. She had heard stories from the few prisoners who had survived and been released. The tunnels were dark and cold. The work was dangerous. The guards were cruel. But maybe she could find a way to get a message to her brother. Maybe she could still help her people somehow, even from prison. With 15 minutes left in the third hour, the chairman stood up. It appears that no one will come forward, he began. That was when the communication system crackled to life. Sorry I'm late, a voice said through the speakers. Traffic was terrible in the shipping lanes. I'll take her. Every head in the chamber turned toward the main viewing screen. A holographic image appeared showing a young human male sitting in what looked like the pilot seat of a cargo ship. He had brown hair that was a bit messy and wore a simple work jacket that had seen better days. Behind him, Vera could see storage crates and the basic equipment of a small freight hauler. The chairman stared at the image for several seconds. State your name and citizenship for the record. Sam Rodriguez, independent cargo hauler, registered out of Terra Station 7. Human citizen in good standing, no criminal record, all my taxes paid up. The human smiled slightly. Well, mostly paid up. A wave of confused murmurs swept through the chamber. Vera herself felt her mouth fall open in shock. This made no sense. Humans were known throughout the galaxy for being reckless, but this was beyond reckless. This was pure madness. Human, the chairman said slowly, do you fully understand what you are offering to do? The bond of responsibility is not a simple legal arrangement. Princess Vera has powerful enemies across the galaxy. Corporate interests, political factions, criminal organizations, all of them want her dead. If you become her partner, they will want you dead as well. Sam Rodriguez shrugged. Yeah, I figured that part out. Still want to do it. Furthermore, the chairman continued, any debts she owes become your debts. Any crime she commits in the future, you will share the punishment. If she fails in her rehabilitation, you will be held equally responsible. This bond lasts until death separates you. Sounds fair to me, Sam said. When do we get started? The chairman looked around the chamber as if seeking help from his fellow council members. Human, please understand that this is not a romantic adventure story. This is a legal responsibility that could easily cost you your life. Princess Vera is not some helpless victim. She led armed attacks against corporate facilities. She has been trained in combat and warfare. She has sworn enemies who will stop at nothing to see her dead. I get it, Sam said patiently. Bad princess, lots of people want to kill her, very dangerous, probably gonna die. Is there paperwork I need to sign, or can we just get this done? Vera found her voice. Human, why would you do this? You don't even know me. What could you possibly gain from taking on such a burden? Sam looked at her through the holographic display. His eyes were surprisingly gentle for someone making such a crazy decision. Let's just say I know what it's like to watch your homeworld get destroyed by people who care more about money than lives. And I know what it's like to feel like nobody gives a damn. The chamber fell completely silent. Even the air recycler seemed to stop humming. Vera felt something strange happen inside her chest. For 2 years, ever since her rebellion had failed and her people had lost hope, she had felt completely alone in the universe. Now this human stranger was offering to share her fate for reasons she could not understand. Very well, the chairman said finally. Sam Rodriguez of Terra Station 7, do you formally claim Princess Vera Nal Zephyr under the ancient bond of responsibility, knowing all the risks and obligations involved? Yeah, I do. Princess Vera, do you accept this bond, knowing that your fate is now tied to this human until death? Vera looked at the holographic image of Sam Rodriguez. He was not handsome like the princes from other worlds who had once sought her hand in marriage. He was not wealthy like the corporate executives who had tried to buy her cooperation. He was not powerful like the military commanders who had offered her positions in their armies. He was just a simple cargo hauler with kind eyes and a crazy willingness to risk everything for a stranger. "I accept," she whispered. "Then let it be recorded," the chairman announced. "The bond of responsibility is sealed. Princess Vera is now in the custody of Sam Rodriguez. The energy restraints will be released, and she will be transported to his vessel immediately." The blue chains around Vera's wrists dissolved. For the first time in months, she could move her arms freely. Council security guards approached to escort her to the transport bay, but she barely noticed them. She kept staring at the holographic image of the human who had just changed her entire future. "Sam Rodriguez," she said. "I don't understand why you've done this, but I want you to know that I am grateful." Sam smiled. "Don't thank me yet, princess. We've got a lot of work to do, and most of it's probably gonna be dangerous. But hey, that's what makes life interesting, right?" The holographic image faded as the communication ended. Vera followed the security guards toward the exit, her mind spinning with questions. What kind of human would risk his life for someone he had never met? What did he really want from her? And most importantly, what was she going to do now that her fate was tied to his? As they walked through the corridors of the council station toward the transport bay, Vera caught glimpses of news reporters and camera crews gathering in the halls. Word of the humans' unexpected decision was already spreading across the galaxy's communication networks. She could hear fragments of excited conversations in a dozen different languages. "Can't believe a human actually did it. Think he knows what he's getting into. This is going to be the story of the year." When they reached the transport bay, Vera saw Sam's cargo ship docked at one of the smaller berths. It was not impressive to look at. The hull was scratched and dented from years of service. The paint was faded in places. But it looked solid and well-maintained, the kind of ship that might not win any beauty contests but would get you where you needed to go. A few minutes later, Sam Rodriguez came walking down the ship's cargo ramp. In person, he looked younger than he had in the holographic image, maybe in his late 20s. He wore the same work jacket and simple clothes. His movements were confident but not aggressive, like someone who was comfortable in his own skin. "Princess Vera," he said, offering a slight bow that was respectful but not overly formal. "Welcome aboard the Steady Hand." Vera looked into his face, searching for some hint of his real motives. "I still don't understand why you've done this." "That's okay," Sam said. "We've got plenty of time to talk about it during the trip to your homeworld." "You're taking me to Zephyros?" Vera felt her heart jump. She had not seen her home in over a year. "That's where your people are, right? That's where the problem started? Then that's where we need to go to fix it." As they walked up the cargo ramp together, Vera realized that her new partner was either the bravest human in the galaxy or the craziest. Possibly both. But for the first time since her rebellion had failed, she felt something she had almost forgotten. She felt hope. The cargo ramp sealed behind them with a soft hiss, and Vera heard the engines beginning to warm up for departure. Whatever happened next, her old life was over. Her new life was about to begin, tied to this mysterious human who had stepped out of nowhere to save her from a frozen death on Titan 7. She had no idea what Sam Rodriguez really wanted, or whether she could trust him, or whether they would both be dead within a week. But as the Steady Hand lifted off from the council station and jumped to hyperspace, Vera allowed herself to believe that maybe, just maybe, there was still a chance to save her dying world. And maybe, for the first time in a very long time, she was not alone. The cargo hold of the Steady Hand was not what Princess Vera had expected. She had lived in crystal palaces with soaring ceilings and walls that sang with light. This human ship was small and practical, with metal walls and equipment secured in neat rows. But it was clean and well organized, and somehow it felt safe. Sam Rodriguez showed her to a small cabin with a simple bed and storage area. It's not much, he said, but it's got privacy and a good air recycler. The food dispenser is down the hall, and the ship's database has entertainment files in about 40 different languages. Vera sat on the edge of the bed and looked around the tiny room. Sam, I need to ask you something directly. What do you really want from me? No human takes on the bond of responsibility without expecting something in return. Sam leaned against the doorway and crossed his arms. You want the honest answer. My parents died fighting a losing battle against corporate strip mining when I was 16. I watched my homeworld get gutted for profit while the Galactic Council did nothing. When I saw you on trial for doing exactly what my folks tried to do, I couldn't just sit there and watch you get sent to Titan 7. So this is about revenge against the corporations? No, Sam said quietly. This is about doing what's right. My parents lost their fight, but maybe we don't have to lose ours. Vera studied his face carefully. She had learned to read people during her years as a princess and then as a rebel leader. Sam Rodriguez was telling the truth, but she sensed there was more to the story. What was your homeworld called? New Angeles. It was a terraformed planet in the outer rim. Nice place, good farming, about 2 million people living quiet lives. Sam's voice got harder. Then Hegemony Corporation found rare earth deposits under the main continent. They bought the mining rights from the Galactic Council without ever asking the people who lived there. The same corporation that's destroying Zephyros, Vera realized. The same one. My parents organized the farmers and tried to fight the mining operation through legal channels first. When that failed, they tried protests and work strikes. When that failed, they tried sabotage. Sam looked out the small window at the stars rushing past. The corporate security forces didn't mess around. They burned our farmhouse with my parents inside it. Made it look like an accident. Vera felt a sharp pain in her chest. I'm sorry. I didn't know. How could you? It was just another small world that got in the way of profit. The galaxy is full of stories like that. Sam straightened up and managed a small smile. But your story doesn't have to end the same way. You're still alive, your brother is still alive, and Zephyros is still fighting. We just need to find a different approach. What kind of approach? That's what we're going to figure out together. The trip to Zephyros took 3 days. During that time, Vera learned more about her strange human partner. Sam had been flying cargo routes for almost 10 years, ever since he lost his family. He knew the shipping lanes like others knew the streets of their hometown. He could fix almost any piece of equipment on his ship with spare parts and clever thinking. And he had a network of contacts across dozens of worlds who owed him favors. The thing about cargo hauling, Sam explained as he showed Vera how to read the navigation charts, is that you meet everyone eventually. Miners, farmers, factory workers, small business owners, even corporate executives when they need something moved quietly. Most people are decent when you get to know them person to person. It's only when they get lost in big organizations that they start doing terrible things. Vera found herself enjoying these conversations more than she had expected. Sam treated her like a person, not like a princess or a criminal or a political symbol. He asked her about Zephyrian culture and history with genuine curiosity. He shared stories about the different worlds he had visited. When they worked together to repair a faulty power coupling, he taught her basic engineering with patience and humor. You're not what I expected from a human, Vera admitted on the second day. What were you expecting? Someone more reckless. Humans have a reputation for doing crazy things without thinking them through. Sam laughed. Oh, we definitely do crazy things. But most of us think them through first. We just come to different conclusions than other species. What do you mean? Well, take what I did back at the council. Every logical analysis said I should stay far away from you. Terrible risk, no obvious reward, probably end up dead within a month. But humans don't just think with logic. We think with our hearts too. And my heart said that letting you go to Titan 7 would be wrong. When they finally reached Zephyros, Vera pressed her face to the viewing port and felt tears start to form in her eyes. Her homeworld was still beautiful from space, with its crystalline continents catching starlight and throwing it back in rainbow patterns. But even from orbit, she could see the brown scars where the mining operations had stripped away the living crystal formations. "It's worse than when I left," she whispered. Sam stood beside her and looked down at the planet. "Tell me about those crystal formations. Are they just mineral deposits, or is there something special about them?" "They're alive, in a way. The crystals grow in harmony with our planet's electromagnetic field. They help regulate temperature, weather patterns, even the chemistry of the soil and water. When the mining operations tear them out, it disrupts everything." Vera pointed to a particularly large brown scar on the main continent. "That used to be the Singing Valley, where the crystals made music in the wind. Now it's just a dead pit. And the corporation doesn't care about the environmental damage. They claim the disruption is temporary. They say the crystals will grow back after the mining is finished. But that's a lie. Once the deep formations are destroyed, they can never be restored." Sam was quiet for a long moment, studying the planet below. "What if we could prove that the crystals are more valuable intact than they are when mined?" "What do you mean?" "You said they regulate the planet's systems. Do they generate energy?" Vera nodded. "Clean, renewable energy that could power our cities for centuries. But the corporations are only interested in the rare elements inside the crystals, not the energy they produce. What if we could show the galaxy that those intact crystals could solve the energy crisis on 100 different worlds? What if we could prove that destroying them is not just environmental damage, but economic stupidity?" Vera felt a spark of hope. "You think we could convince the Galactic Council to change the mining rights?" "I think we could convince the galaxy that Zephyros is worth more as a living world than as a strip mine. But we'll need proof, and we'll need to get that proof to people who matter." They landed the Steady Hand at a small spaceport outside Vera's home city of Crystal Falls. The moment they stepped off the ship, Vera could smell the difference in the air. It used to be clean and sweet, with a hint of ozone from the crystal formations. Now there was a bitter chemical taste that made her throat burn. Her younger brother Kale was waiting for them at the spaceport. He looked older than Vera remembered, and much more serious. When he saw her walking down the cargo ramp, he ran forward and caught her in a fierce embrace. "I can't believe you're home," he said. "When we heard about the trial, we thought we'd never see you again." "This is Sam Rodriguez," Vera said, introducing her human partner. "He claimed me under the bond of responsibility." Kale looked Sam up and down with obvious suspicion. "A human cargo hauler? Why would you risk your life for someone you don't even know?" "Because sometimes that's what needs to be done," Sam said simply. "And because I think we can still save your world if we work together." Over the next few hours, Kale showed them around Crystal Falls. The city was still beautiful, with its organic architecture that grew from the living crystal formations. But many of the crystal spires were dark and silent, their energy drained by the mining operations. The people they met looked tired and worried. Many were coughing from the polluted air. "It's gotten much worse since you left," Kale told Vera quietly. "The corporation has tripled their mining operations. They say they want to finish the job quickly so they can move on to other worlds." "How much time do we have?" Sam asked. "Maybe 6 months before the damage becomes irreversible," Kale replied. "After that, the planet's ecosystem will collapse completely." That evening, they met with the surviving leaders of Vera's old rebellion movement. They gathered in a hidden chamber deep beneath the city, where the crystal walls still glowed with soft light. There were about 20 people present, a mix of Zephyrians and a few sympathizers from other worlds. "Princess, we're glad you're safe," said Dr. Nara, an elderly scientist who had supported the rebellion from the beginning. "But I don't understand why you've returned. The corporate security forces are still looking for you." "We're here because we have a new plan," Vera announced. Instead of fighting the corporation with weapons, we're going to fight them with information. She outlined Sam's idea about proving the economic value of the intact crystal formations. The room buzzed with excited whispers as she explained how they could gather data on the energy output of the remaining crystals and broadcast that information across the galaxy. It's an interesting idea, Dr. Nara said thoughtfully. But how do we get accurate measurements without the corporation noticing? And even if we gather the data, how do we make sure the right people see it? Sam stepped forward. Leave the distribution to me. I know reporters and news networks on 50 different worlds. As for gathering the data without being detected, I have some ideas about that too. Over the next 2 weeks, Sam proved that human ingenuity was not just a legend. Working with Dr. Nara and a team of Zephyrian scientists, he designed small sensor devices that could measure the crystal formation's energy output without triggering the corporation's security systems. The sensors were disguised as common mining equipment and could transmit data through encrypted channels. Meanwhile, Vera used her knowledge of the crystal network to identify the most important formations to monitor. She also reached out to her contacts on other worlds, building a network of people who would be ready to act when the information was released. The work was dangerous. Corporate security forces patrolled the mining areas constantly, and they had orders to shoot suspected rebels on sight. Sam and Vera had to move carefully, often traveling at night and using hidden routes through the crystal caves. During one of these nighttime missions, they were nearly caught by a security patrol. They had to hide in a narrow crystal cave for 6 hours while guards searched the area around them. Pressed close together in the darkness, they talked quietly about their hopes and fears. "Do you really think this plan will work?" Vera whispered. "I think it's our best shot," Sam replied. "But even if it doesn't work perfectly, we'll have shown the galaxy what's happening here. Sometimes that's enough to start something bigger. And if the corporation decides to kill us for interfering with their operations?" Sam was quiet for a moment. "Then at least we'll have tried. That's more than a lot of people can say." Vera reached out and found Sam's hand in the darkness. "Thank you for giving me the chance to try again. Thank you for letting me be part of it." 3 weeks after they arrived on Zephyros, their sensor network was complete. The data they collected was even more impressive than they had hoped. The intact crystal formations were generating enough clean energy to power dozens of star systems. The economic value of that energy far exceeded the value of the rare elements the corporation was mining. But their work had not gone unnoticed. Corporate security forces had detected some of their activities and were closing in. On the night before they planned to release the data to the galactic networks, armed guards surrounded their hideout. "This is where the crazy part starts," Sam told Vera as alarms sounded throughout the underground chamber. "I thought the crazy part was when you claimed me at the council," she replied. "No, that was just the warm-up." Working together, Sam and Vera led the other rebels through a series of escape tunnels that connected to the planet's natural crystal cave system. They had to fight their way past security forces several times, but Sam's unconventional tactics and Vera's knowledge of the caves gave them an advantage. Finally, they reached a hidden transmitter array that Kale had built in the deepest part of the crystal network. From there, they could beam their data directly to news networks across the galaxy without going through the corporate-controlled communication satellites. "Ready to change the galaxy?" Sam asked, his finger hovering over the transmission control. "Do it," Vera said. The data burst shot out across space at faster-than-light speeds, carrying the proof that Zephyros was worth more alive than dead. Within hours, news reports were appearing on hundreds of worlds. Scientists, economists, and environmental groups began analyzing the information and adding their voices to the growing chorus of protest against the mining operations. The Galactic Council called for an emergency session. Corporate executives scrambled to defend their position, but the evidence was overwhelming. The intact crystal formations of Zephyros represented a source of clean energy that could help solve the galaxy's environmental and economic problems. Within a month, the Council voted to revoke Hegemony Corporation's mining rights and declare Zephyros a protected energy reserve. The planet would be allowed to heal while providing clean power to worlds throughout the galaxy. Sam and Vera stood together on a high crystal spire, watching the last corporate ships leave orbit. The air was already beginning to clear, and new crystal growth was starting to appear in the damaged areas. "We did it," Vera said, hardly believing it was true. "We did it," Sam agreed. "Though I think this is just the beginning." "What do you mean?" Sam smiled and gestured toward the horizon, where other crystal formations were beginning to sing their ancient songs again. "There are a lot of other worlds out there that could use our help. A lot of other people fighting losing battles against impossible odds." Vera looked at her human partner and realized that somewhere during their adventure, the bond of responsibility had become something deeper. They had become true partners, and true friends. "So what do we do next?" "Next, we load up the Steady Hand with supplies and see where the galaxy needs us most," Sam said. "After all, lost causes are kind of a human specialty." As they walked back toward the city, Vera thought about how much her life had changed since Sam Rodriguez had spoken those simple words, "I'll take her." She had started as a failed rebel princess facing exile and death. Now she was part of something bigger, something that could bring hope to worlds across the galaxy. Behind them, the crystals of Zephyros sang in harmony, their music carrying across space to tell other worlds that sometimes, just sometimes, the impossible could happen when the right people decided to stand together. The human who had saved her had been right about one thing: lost causes really were a human specialty. But as Vera had learned, they were also worth fighting for.